MyMac Podcast 860. Your stuff is our stuff.
And welcome, everyone, to the MyMac.com podcast. First off, a big thanks to Carl Madden from the Mac and Forth podcast for stepping in last week and keeping me company while Gaz was away. So, big ups to Carl for that. Really appreciate it. Now,
did he
speaking
really,
of Gaz,
did he really keep you sane?
Here's the thing. Something funny that happened, and it happened over and over again. Now, Carl, because of our long association with him, he has been on the show many times, and usually of his own accord. Usually,
yes, we don't hold his arm behind his back with a gun to his head.
Well, not hard.
Well,
not hard.
No.
Keep it kind of loose, but the threat is there. The threat
we just basically put a hand grenade in his hand and pull a pin out, and then he's going to record
and say, "Come on the podcast," or else. So, because he's been on the show as many times as he has, he knows all the routines. He does. But of course, me being me,
yes,
I'm typically going, okay, well, now is the time when and then he'll just say, "Guy,
I know
that, I know all about that." So, and if it happens once, that's like an what's the word? Analomy, not analomy.
I don't know which word you're looking for.
Something that's out of the ordinary.
Anomaly.
Do. Yeah. So once would be an anomaly. More than once is Guy. So that's kind of what happened last week. But we really do appreciate the fact.
The odd thing is that it's not an odd thing at all. But I said to Carl a little while ago, actually, if you ever want me to step in and help you host your program because you've got to shoot off for whatever reason, I'm quite happy to do so. And what happens? Last week or the week before, he asked me if last week I could step in and do exactly that, and I said, actually, I can't, 'cause I'm away. But he stepped in for me. So yeah. Cheers, Carl. Cheers. Well done.
We really do appreciate it. Now, getting on to MyMac stuff. Now, Gaz, Apple is the company that gives and then takes away. Announcements have been made that they're going to start scanning photos libraries to help stop underage exploitation. And while that's a lofty goal, what does it mean in regards to users' privacy that Apple has touted in their press clippings? And that's going to be the subject, or possibly the rant, of the second section of the show, because this is probably the most I have written in regards to this show, outside of where, like, usually if we're doing something like we're talking about a press event that Apple has had, and there's like a list of stuff that they have, that can go very, very long, because if it's like 5-6 items, then we have little notes in there talking about the highlights of those items. But this was all just text. It's like a text wall, Gaz. It's there.
I started trying to read it, and it just went on and on. And no. I'm looking forward to going through it with you. So it's cool.
And I may, depending on how it goes, I may submit this over into MyMac.com as an article. But we'll see. So,
what's been happening to you over the last week when I've been living it up on the Southwest Coastal Path?
Well, they say that nothing lasts forever, Gaz, and with tech audio gear, it's not only a rule, it's the whole shebang. What were you about to say?
I just said,
Yeah,
with you and audio gear.
Well, my often recommended Behringer UMC 404 HD, which is an audio interface, and that's what I connect my microphone and practically every other microphone, has sprung a bit of a leak, I think.
Oh.
From the start of the show that
I
you
didn't know
guys won't hear.
I didn't know it was powered by water.
Well, there's like a little hamster on a wheel that's behind it.
Right.
So,
okay. Okay. It's been.
But anyway, I started getting a loud hiss, especially when amplified in the background of some recordings. And I was kind of hoping it was a cable because one of the last microphone I had connected, I had to every once in a while kind of push the connector back in because it didn't seem like it was always making a good connection. So I swapped that cable out, but the noise was still there.
Uh-oh.
So I did lots of swapping of cables and microphone inputs and outputs and lots of other things that I've added so that, to make my audio setup as weird as humanly possible.
That is something which you're really good at.
I am so good at that. And what I thought it was the first input into the Behringer audio interface. And fortunately for me, the 404 has a total of 4 inputs. So I just picked another one.
Okay.
But it's starting to be thinking about replacing it. And this begs the question, do I get another 404, which I have used now for years? Or do I try something new? And if you watch the video, you'll see I'm scratching my chin in an evil sort of way.
Yes, yeah. And from my particular perspective, I don't think it matters because if you get the same, yes, Guy's chin is now falling to his chest. It doesn't matter because if you get the same guy, you will still experiment left, right, and center. And if you get a new one, you will spend weeks learning its foibles. So to me, I'll still be sitting at the start of the show going, "Are you ready yet?
Are we going to do a show today?"
Anyway, talking of audio equipment, what mic is Guy using today?
Dun-dun-dun. No, we need something else for that. We can't use the dun-dun-dun.
Well, don't use it then.
Speaking of which,
hang a minute. That was all in your head, right? Right.
Yes.
If you hadn't gone do it, you wouldn't then have had to have said, "We need something. We should stop using that." If you'd just gone in and told everybody what mic you were using, then you wouldn't have needed to do that. And then I wouldn't have needed to tell you that you needn't have done that.
So in the time that it's taken the two of us to go over what we need or don't need, and you explaining why we don't need it, I could have already said it. Is that the point?
Probably.
Yes. Well, the microphone I'm using today is, and hopefully it sounds good. This is one that I used for many, many, many years. It's the Heil PR40 broadcast dynamic microphone. And
how much do those mics cost these days, Guy?
I want to say $349.
No, they're $329.
$329. Okay,
that's dollars, everyone. That's dollars.
Yeah. So, and
not a bad guess. Not a bad guess from you. Not a bad guess.
Well, I've ever since I started thinking about a new audio interface, I've been like perusing Amazon and Sweetwater and Guitar Center and all these other audio sites that I have permanent links to, of course.
Oh dear.
Looking for other audio interfaces that have like similar functionality to the 404. And oddly enough, even though this is like one of the cheapest, the Behringer UMC 404 HD is one of the cheaper 4x4 audio interfaces that you can get. It has features that you don't see even on interfaces that cost twice as much, like inserts, for example. Hardly any of the other audio interfaces outside of mixers have inserts, and that's amazing.
Guy,
that they don't.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
What's an insert on a mic?
Oh, well, what an insert is is you take your microphone, you plug it into the interface, and in normal non-guy language, it then goes through, it's got like a gain switch, and then it goes into USB and it goes into your computer. Job done. That's what an USB audio interface is supposed to do. What an insert does is it allows you to interrupt the audio chain. So instead of it going from the microphone into the interface, into the preamp, and then out through USB, it grabs it before it hits the preamp. And it pushes it out through a connection on the back to other audio gear. And in this case, it's going to the DBX 286 preamp, compressor, all kinds of good stuff. And then it comes back out of that and back into the interface. And then it goes all the way through the rest of the audio chain through USB.
Cool.
And very few other interfaces have something like that. And the way most people get around that is they bring whatever device it is. It doesn't even have to really be microphones. It could be anything. They'll bring that into the outbound gear first. So in this particular case, the microphone would go directly into the DBX 286, and then the output of that would go into the audio interface. You can do it that way. But this allows you to chain other devices, other audio altering devices into the chain before it goes all the way back out through the interface.
So are you saying that we could actually put something in that insert which blanks you out completely?
Yes. As a matter of fact,
I think I might have a word with Tracy next week, actually.
if you disconnect it from anywhere, like if I disconnect the input into the other gear or the output from the other gear, you'll get nothing through the interface.
Thank you for explaining that. I'll be able to explain that to Tracy so much easier.
Yeah. Should I write it down?
Could you draw a little diagram so when I tell her, and leave it on the side?
Sure. Yeah, I can do that. What have you been up to, Gaz?
Well, last week, obviously, I've been on holiday with Mrs. Gaz. We've been walking again on the Southwest Coastal Path. We've got about 52 miles left of the 630 miles.
How much did you do during this week?
I think it was about 60 miles. We generally do about 60 miles a week. We don't overdo it. When we first started, we were doing like 14, 15, 16, and sometimes even 20 miles a day. But actually, you can't enjoy it. It's quite steep in places. And we like to stop and, take in the view, have a sup of coffee and, have tea and cake and just enjoy the surroundings. So this week, I think the most we did on one day was about 14 miles. So it varies anywhere between 7 and about 14 generally.
It's still a lot for most people.
Well, yeah. I mean, we do a lot of walking. So obviously for us, it's relatively straightforward. And it was good. We had one baddish day of weather, but that just gives it a different slant, really. So,
and it's England. So
well,
just one day is something.
Yeah, but actually on the coast, when you're on the coast, you can have completely different weather. There was one day when it said we're going to get, which was the Friday, where we were also expecting to get lots of showers. Mm-hmm. We had bright blue skies and sunshine all day, but I could see when we looked behind us, the clouds were coming in from the Atlantic, and you could see them just going in southwest of us and then inland and going up the center of the land, and it was raining inland but not on us. It's perfect.
So you had sunshine on a cloudy day. Sounds like
sunshine on a cloudy day. Yes,
and when it's cold outside. Yes, I'm on the southwest coast of England.
Path. Yes,
not how that song goes.
Yes, and we also did the highest point on the south coast, which is called Golden Cap. For anybody who's interested, we did for anybody in the UK, we went between Sidmouth and Weymouth. So we went past Chesil Beach. Here's an interesting fact: Chesil Beach. Yes, look it up. In fact, I might put a link in the links. I'll dig one out for Chesil Beach. It's 29 kilometers long. So what's that? About 20 miles, something like that. 29 kilometers long, whatever it is. And it's got hundreds of thousands of tons of gravel, which was formed around 6,000 years ago, this beach, and it's all gravel. And at the at the east end of the Chesil Beach, the stones are like potatoes, the size of potatoes, whereas at the western end of Chesil Beach, they're more like M&Ms. Let me use that because everybody knows what an M&M, the size of an M&M is. So, the beach, and apparently the difference in those stones, pirates, when they came ashore, could tell roughly where they were on Chesil Beach according to the size of the pebbles when they came in, if it was a foggy day. Anyway, I'll put a link in. Arr, Jim lad. Now, I always take my phone to go out with us, and I've obviously always got my watch, and we also take my iPad for evening viewing of especially not Wilf this time. No, we don't generally take the dog because then you've got to do bed and breakfast, and they've got to accept them, and then eating out in the evening. It just makes it more complicated. And as we have people at home at the moment,
well, and plus that's a lot of walking for a little.
He'd do it. He'd
take a little cart, take a little pram.
No, not quite so easy. If you saw some of the terrain that we had to go over. Anyway, I obviously have. I also, sorry?
4-wheel drive pram?
No, even that wouldn't work. Sometimes you are climbing up some very steep hills, Guy. So obviously I've got my watch, I've got the iPhone and the iPad, but I actually used my watch to buy things from fuel to things like ice cream, which is
nice.
Absolutely cracking. I take
just don't mix them up.
I still just don't mix them up. No, don't put ice cream in your vehicle. It won't work. I use my iPhone to take pictures as we went along the day, and in the evening use the iPad on occasion to do a little bit more editing if I hadn't done enough and I felt I needed it, rather than just the editing off the phone. So, and I've got a tip for everyone, but it's going to be Gaz's tip. I'm not nodding my head yet. I'm shaking my head. Okay. It's a bit of an obvious one, but you'll have to wait for that tip later, Guy. Now, key, whilst using the phone, I also still use the Ordnance Survey, even though you are following the coastal path. So basically, you just keep the sea on your right. There's lots of extra information.
That's the big giveaway right there.
That sometimes you do have to come inland, especially when there's lots of rock falls and they have to do path diversions and things. And it gives you lots of other information as well. So I'll carry on my little episode about the Ordnance Survey. Now, I previously spoke, and I think I'm doing a section between 1855 to 1935, and previously I spoke about zincography and photozincography, or however you say it. Nobody contacted us to say I'd got it wrong. So you
must have got it right then.
So I either got it right or close enough that people couldn't be bothered, which is fine. Anyway. So... The Ordnance Survey map has now got into colour map printing. It was introduced to the 1-inch map in 1887, while in 1902, Ordnance Survey employed women for the first time, Guy, to mount and colour maps. The 20th century brought much more cyclists and motorists onto the roads and ramblers into the countryside. The new Director General, Colonel Charles Close, quickly saw that there was potential for huge map sales among this expanding leisure market. Guy's laughing because I didn't tell everybody. Apparently, he was called Daddy to his staff.
Which is so disturbing.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it was a long time ago, Guy. As Britain entered the First World War, staff from Ordnance Survey were posted overseas. They were working in appalling conditions. Surveyors plotted the lines of trenches, and for the first time, aerial photography was used to capture survey information. By the end of the First World War, Ordnance Survey had printed 20 million maps for the war effort alone. After the war, thoughts turned to marketing the maps to engage a new wave of outdoor enthusiasts, including me, to this current day, 100 years later. A professional artist was appointed to produce eye-catching covers for the 1-inch maps. Ellis Martin's classic designs boosted sales to record levels, and maps were soon seen as essential by the general public, as I do today. More next week. We're getting to the end. On that. Okay, so now, Guy, I think these could be really long, but I thought I'm not going to do 2 weeks worth of snippets, so I'm just going to do 1 week's of Gaz's snippets. Do you see how I did that?
It was very good. So smooth.
Sometimes I'm just too professional for my own
One of
good.
these days, I need to learn how to be smooth. It's not going to happen.
No, you carry on as you are. It's fine. This made me laugh. Larger, redesigned, high-end iMacs are rumored to launch next year. Shocker.
Duh. What? Duh.
Wait, what?
Yeah. An analyst got paid for that, by the way. Just so everybody knows.
This may be the same. Apple's return to office plans may not reflect the new reality, say academics. Shocker.
Or there may be lots of help wanted ads in local newspapers where Apple has offices.
Shocker. Apple Pay versus Google Pay, the battle over security in Australian antitrust hearing. Yes, backwards and forwards. Fists at dawn. Now, there's an Apple museum with over 1,500 exhibits to open in Poland. I'd say if you're in Czechoslovakia, oh no, it's not Czechoslovakia, is it?
That
in
Apple
Prague.
Museum they've got there?
Yeah, is it Prague in Czechoslovakia? No, it's not Czechoslovakia though. It's a Czech Republic.
We've talked about it.
Yeah, slap my wrist. Well, there's one going to open in Poland, but there's one in the Czech Republic. I think that's right. I'm sure I will get people telling me whether I was wrong on that. Apparently, Apple has demoed filmmaking techniques in a new shot on iPhone video. It is becoming the tool of choice for videographers, isn't it? It really is.
It is. And you can use other phones as well. It's not like Apple has the market sewn up on, good lenses and cameras for phones. Agreed.
So any of the, techniques that they show can be used for most, I would say.
Sure.
Apple has shared 11 reasons. Why 11, I don't know. Perhaps they're turning it up to 11. Why business users should use Macs. And it's funny because I do see more and more businesses, the people, they've got Macs rather than any other device.
Well, the weird thing with the global pandemic, people working from home can use pretty much whatever computer they want.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of companies have said, okay, well, the software now is just ubiquitous, isn't it? It doesn't matter what OS you've got. iOS 14.7.1 and Mac OS Big Sur 11.5.1 patch security vulnerability that may have been actively exploited. So if you're one of those people that have had that exploitation done on you, I'm sorry. About that. Don't blame me. I can't. Just don't blame me. It's Apple's fault. They can't say that their environments are safe anymore, can they, Guy? Because
certainly not 100%.
And it's like obscurity through
security through obscurity.
That's it. They can't do that anymore. Strong iPhone growth in Europe as Samsung apparently sales decline. Oh, interesting. Apple now selling standalone Magic Keyboard with Touch ID starting at $149. Now, if you remember, they came out with that standalone keyboard with the Touch ID and it wasn't available. It was only available when you bought the Mac. It's now available as a standalone item, apparently.
For a lot of money.
Yes, Apple Pay has come to, I think it's the ING Bank in Belgium, the FNB in South Africa, and the Hey Banco in Mexico. No comments. Calm down. I don't want you throwing things over a wall.
Okay.
Oh, dear. That was poor, wasn't it? Apple updates Intel Mac Pro with 3 new graphic card modules.
And these new graphics modules, in some cases, are nearly as expensive as the Mac that they go into. And I don't know how much you read on this, but graphics improvement is like anywhere from 14 to 50%.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money for such a relatively small improvement. It's a lot of money.
But yes, but what you've got, now it's a lot of money to you, Guy, but it is a lot of money to a company that's charging a lot of money per hour and to gain 15%, if that gains it 15% improvement in time for that person, that's an extra 15% that they can put to the bottom line. So,
maybe.
And then that adds up hour after hour after hour. So,
Well, and on the plus side, they could then apply that to audio gear. So, all right.
There you go. Apple has expanded support for student IDs in Apple Wallet to new schools in the US and Canada. So this is, identification on campus, I assume. App Store prices are dropping in UK and South Africa and other countries. Now, this is probably down to the weakness of the dollar. It's funny how when the strength of the dollar goes up, the prices change fairly quickly. But when the dollar goes down, the prices don't change so quickly. But that's across all businesses, not just
gasoline. Sorry.
Gasoline. Yeah. Tell me. So you get is it about 4 liters per gallon?
More or less,
right? Yeah. So how much is a gallon of fuel in America?
Well, here in Northern Virginia, a week ago when I last filled up the car, I'm seeing prices in the $3.19 to $3.60 a gallon.
So that's three. Okay, so let's call that $3.20 a gallon. Okay,
or $1.05 a liter.
$1.05 a liter. Okay. So if I do a conversion, that brings that down to about 70 or 80 pence. I've seen prices varying for a litre in the UK anywhere between £1.30 and £1.50. Push that up, you're pushing
Okay, well, what's the difference there?
What's the difference? Tax.
Yes.
That's all, Guy. Tax.
It's a consumption tax.
Yeah, basically, yes. What's going to happen when everybody's got electric cars? Oh, don't worry. The electric car drivers tell you they won't be increasing the cost of electricity for you to charge your car because they would have lost all of this income from gas people. No, they'll just suck it up and move on. You're right. Yeah.
It will be the best of all worlds.
Yeah.
Utopia is right around the corner.
It is. Just keep watching. Apple has a new online storefront, and apparently there's a lot more to see. Now, I must admit, I went on to the new Apple website and I thought, oh, yeah, that's a change. Scrolled straight to the bottom, went to the refurb store. That's exactly the same. No difference. Went out.
So good. Oh, look, more colors.
Apparently, Apple has remained and remains largely absent in the US smart speakers market. Is that a surprise? Probably not.
They've got basically one thing to sell.
Yeah. Apple CEO Tim Cook now is the 8th highest paid executive in the US. Now, we spoke about this a short while ago, but apparently this has come up again. And I don't know why, but he's the 8th. And what we said, I think we made a joke about this previously, saying if he's, I think before we were talking about it might have been worldwide. Anyway, I think what we then said
to performance.
Yeah. What we then said was, well, those other companies must have a really great CEO doing magical things in their company. Wait.
What?
Wait, what? Argyle is a spy movie starring Henry Cavill,
Superman,
and Dua Lipa, coming to Apple TV Plus. Oh, I like spy movies. There's a second AirPods Pro firmware beta that adds conversation boost. Now, I don't know if that's since come out, but conversation boost.
Is that related to people that are hard of hearing?
Well, this is going down the health point, isn't it, really? Which could be... It's funny because the amount of people I saw on holiday out and about with their their earphones permanently in.
Yeah.
And if this helps hard of hearing people, then fine, great.
Except that's not what usually most people have those in their ears to block out everybody else.
Yes, but if it can be used as that as well,
Yeah,
actually, there's a massive market there, Guy, especially if they work. Because I tell you what, hearing aids are flipping expensive.
they are.
Flipping expensive.
And the part that we just lost your camera. Now it's back. The part that cracks me up is that when you go to talk to someone and they realize that they have to pull out their ear pods or wireless or wired headphones to talk to you, it's always like, you know, their eyes will roll and they'll be like, oh, this person wants to talk to me.
Yeah.
What is it, person, that is interrupting my calm?
My inner calm.
Yeah.
Apple engineering manager put on administrative leave after complaining about sexism at work.
I thought nobody was in the office.
Yeah. Well, that's why the problem was normally nobody hears him, but because there was nobody there, he was overheard. Developers are complaining as App Store feature promotes rip-off apps. Did you see about this during the week?
No, I hadn't heard about this.
Well, apparently Apple has featured a number of apps with disproportionately expensive subscriptions on the App Store, arousing the of some developers. The App Store featured the App Store feature on the Australian App Store, first highlighted by Bone Novell, is called Slime Relaxations, and reportedly features apps that are non-functional and seek to charge disproportionately costly in-app purchase subscriptions.
What was the name of that again?
Are you saying you want to go for it?
No, I'm just curious. Did you say slime?
No, yeah, but I think that's his Twitter handle, Guy.
Oh, okay. I was like, that's the name of your app? He's like, what? Yeah, buy my app.
Oh, no, it could be. It could be Slime Relaxations.
Yeah.
Slime Relaxations on the App Store.
So if you have slime that's like really tense, this is the app for you.
Oh dear, I'm really getting a bit concerned about these. Actually, one of the apps called Jelly, it's an ASMR, features $13 a week subscription to get past its paywall. Wow.
Yeah. Well, regardless, all those apps that require in-app purchases, I pretty much just go nope.
Yeah,
nope,
it's got to be really highly recommended. I agree with you. It's got to be really highly recommended and something that I really want. Before
even then.
Yeah, I agree. The first Apple Store in India has been delayed due to the global health crisis. That's a shame.
Shocker.
Especially in India, they're really struggling with it, with the pandemic. Apple suppliers are struggling to hire enough workers ahead of iPhone 13 launch. I tell you what, just about every manufacturer, well, every company is struggling to get workers. Apple apparently won't have to pay a $309 million after a judge has accused a patent troll of abusing system to fleece tech companies.
Have you read up on this?
I haven't. No, I popped that in. I just liked it.
Yeah.
It in.
Essentially, what a lot of these companies are doing is, they've got these like generic descriptions for patents, and that's what they're using. This particular company delayed the patent filing because they knew that companies like Apple and Google and Microsoft were likely to have built-in functionality along these lines. And there's a 14-year limit, I think, not from the time of
17 years.
Patent
17-year
limit, not from the time of when it's granted, but when it's applied for. So they held off as long as they possibly could so that they could draw in other companies that used similar functionality to whatever they had named. And apparently the judge saw through it and was like, yeah, you know what? No, we're not going to play this game. So good for him, her.
Yeah, I don't know who it was actually. I was just looking for the name of the judge, and
good for them.
Yes, good for them.
There's a good pronoun, them.
Apparently, there are more than 200 games in the Apple Arcade Store, which is good because I'm now a Apple One subscriber. And I'm trying a few apps at the moment. Well, I'm not at the moment. I've just downloaded a few, so I'll try some this week.
Tell me about them later.
I will. Spotify has postponed plans to add AirPlay 2 support on its iOS app. I do not know why, though, but that's a shame. Spotify users may have to wait longer to get the full AirPlay 2 support on their devices. The company confirmed this week that the plans to add AirPlay 2 to Spotify iOS have been delayed indefinitely. Now, Spotify, get on with it. If you want to be on the store, you've got to show that you're good enough to be on the store. Don't complain about not getting enough money and it charging you too much because you can't create an app which works for everybody.
Remember as well that this basically, AirPlay 2 is essentially working for other Apple devices. If you wanted to send it to your Mac or whatever, the Apple TV and the their smart speaker, the HomePod Mini, and that's it. It's not like there's
one of the things. Interesting. Yeah. When did AirPlay 2 come out as a feature? Which version of iOS? Right. It's a bit of a rhetorical question.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
11.4.
So it's been out for a while.
I'm glad you picked up on that. Guess what? A feature of AirPlay 2 has.
What's that?
Strong DRM, guy. I'll leave you folks to make any assumptions.
That may explain why I wasn't able to AirPlay to my Apple TV from my phone's particular songs from Apple Music.
Apple wants to check your phone for child abuse images. What could possibly go wrong? Guy may well be talking a little bit more in the second section. I put a little bit of news on here because obviously while I was away, and I think you may have talked about this, Apple has reported its third quarter results. I'm going to put a link to those results in the link section of this particular show, so you can go and have a look, because we're not going to run over them now.
But there is one thing to say about them. They made a lot of money.
Shocker!
I know. I was stunned.
Incredible. Shall I take us out, Guy?
Take us out, please.
Stand by for rant number 1, and we'll be right back.
And welcome everyone back to the second part of the MyMac.com podcast. And this part, at least in the beginning, is going to be rantastic, Gaz. It definitely is going to be rantastic.
Rantables.
Rantables. Yeah, it almost sounds like a breakfast food of some kind. Did you take your vitamins? Even better. Did you take your rantables before you left for school today, little Jimmy? Yeah, a little levity before we get into what is really kind of a serious topic. So here's how it starts, Gaz. Apple has led the way in regards to users' privacy, and their actions has led to a lot of wholesale changes in big tech, especially when the topic turns to user privacy and data. Now, a lot of people have bemoaned how big tech was giving away free services like data storage, applications, and social media that connects all of us in exchange for picking through our data to learn details about us. The stated goal has always been to figure out how to target advertising so that we would see things we were more likely to buy than the shotgun approach of our cavemen web designer ancestors. Now, I love that. Sometimes the things I write, it just makes me laugh. However, as many have warned us, the temptation to learn more about us beyond what truck, diapers, beer, tampons, toilet paper, or books and movies we were interested in was too great to let slip by. So then more targeted data collection started happening as they dove into our messages, pictures, online meetings, political associations, and our very thoughts and feelings that we may or may not want to be public knowledge or even part of a profile started. At some point, whether before, during, or afterwards, governments have taken notice, And they also wanted in on the action, which was like, shocker. The more authoritative the government, the faster they wanted in. And some didn't even have the common courtesy of hiding it. Wrap it in the flag and call it for the greater good. And more people were willing to just roll over and take it. Now, Apple was one of the few companies to sort of push against this, whether because of and you know, I'm not giving them a pass here, whether this was because of a real desire to protect their customers, or because they may feel that if anyone is going to exploit our users, it should be us mentality. They began adding useful and real world tools to let us see what was happening behind the tech curtains. It was eye-opening for many, and Apple got a lot of new customers who might not have thought about buying Apple products into the fold. And this brings us, Gaz, to today. Apple has announced...
What's different, Guy, about today?
What's different about today is they have announced what they're calling expanded protections for children features. These are coming to all of the newest versions of Apple's various operating systems in the next go around. And the stated goals are very lofty, and few can dispute that the end result is desirable. Those goals are to help reduce child exploitation and abuse. And the goal itself isn't the problem.
Nope.
It's the method that people are questioning. Now, the Electronic Freedom Foundation, the EFF, has said it is impossible to build a client-side scanning system that can only be used for sexually explicit images sent or received by children. As a consequence, even a well-intentioned effort to build such a system will break key promises of the messenger's encryption itself and open the door to broader abuses. The method, Gaz, is to scan and identify images in users' photos library, looking for any common flags that in the past have been associated with child exploitation images. If an image that meets that criteria is found, it gets sent to a real-world human for review, and if it is objectionable or could be, depending on local laws, illegal, reported to the authorities. This will include all pictures, public or private, in any user's library. The flags it looks for are common within a database of known exploitation images, and it is flexible enough to grow and learn with time. And herein is the problem. Any system like this can be modified not just for images, but nearly anything that people commonly do with their phones or mobile devices. It can look for not just pictures, but writings, messages, or other text deemed objectionable by whoever might be listening. They are also supposed to implement a way for parents to see any potential problematic texts or images their children that are tied into their accounts might try to send to, and to send warnings to both parties. Now, while the common question by many who follow privacy concerns is who's watching the watchers, it might be Apple today, and you might be okay with that based on their reputation. But remember, Apple gave control of their iCloud servers to third parties in China for Chinese users. Is their data now safe? Based on recent history, I would say no. Are you okay with Apple, or really any government, having access to all of the data you store on your phone or cloud services, and for them to be able to scan it for thought crimes? What do you think?
Well, the first thing that jumps into my mind straight away is we take lots of pictures of our children, and have taken lots of pictures of our children. I take less of them now because they're adults and, you know, they're out and they're doing their own thing. But when they were kids on the beach, they often just stripped off Guy and got into the sea and played on the sand. And that happens. We saw it as we were walking on the coast in the last week. Kids do that, right? They strip off and they get in the sea.
Yeah.
And we have a number, not a lot, but we have a few. And it's always a good photo to embarrass your kids when they get married or when they get older or when they've got their 18th birthday. You know, you always bring it up and everybody has a laugh and a hoot about it. Are they safe? Now, they may be picked up because of nudity of a small child. But then my problem is I could have a third party who would never, ever see that image of my children to assess whether it was right or wrong. And they may look at it and go, that's fine. But they then have seen that image, which I would never have wanted them to see. They may also then take the other decision that it needs reporting.
Yep.
And that could be then a very dangerous situation. So you've got two situations. One, it's fine, but actually I'm not fine with it because then a third party human,
is looking
as
at
they've said,
pictures of
has
your
looked
kids.
at pictures of my kids. How can I trust the watcher, as you said earlier? And perhaps I didn't want the watcher to see it in the first place. Don't put it in iCloud. I hear everybody shouting, but we'll come to that in a minute. Or if someone takes offense to that image because they don't know enough about the local laws, could mean that that picture then gets transferred to another person to look at it in the local country for them then to identify whether that image and determine whether it was, a proper picture or not. That means two people have now possibly seen, or however more. Many number, or more. And then if they still decide that it's wrong, then am I going to get a knock on the door?
And once you end up with that knock on the door, whether you're innocent or not, you are now in the system.
Yeah. So you said some really good things there about the fact that the reasoning behind and the want that people want this to carry on. It's really. Let me see if I can just see what you said, because I don't want to just try and say something different, because what you said was absolutely spot on, and that is the fact that I'm not going to be able to find it in time, but I think these goals are to help reduce child exploitation and abuse. The goal is not the problem. Absolutely. However, the means to the end could be a problem.
Yes.
It's a real difficult one. And there are some issues, I think, behind this, definitely.
And it hasn't been implemented yet.
And it's starting off in the US, isn't it? And it's only on images which are kept in iCloud from what I've read.
But remember, unless you go to extreme lengths, every single picture that you take on your phone ends up in iCloud.
Yeah.
From the moment that your phone
reconnects. Let me rephrase that then. I think I read, and I could be wrong, photos stored in iCloud.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's not the case, because you can set the process up fairly easily so that it doesn't do that.
So it doesn't go.
Yeah, but it's iCloud. Stored. There's a difference. It could go and then come back down, because some people say they only want to keep photos on the local machine. Anyway, that's that.
This is pictures both public and private.
Yes. No, absolutely. I get that bit. But I think that's irrelevant. That point. The process, I think, is still where we're having a bit of a. Where will this end, and what happens if, as you say, like in certain countries around the world, Apple have had to give up access to iCloud to governmental organizations? What happens then in 5 years' time? I think Tim Cook says he's leaving the company. Was it 5 years? I think he said.
Something like that.
What happens if the next guy comes along is someone who's a little bit less reputable and cares quite so much, and then the company gets sold onto, and split up around the world? It's a real difficult one to run with.
Yep.
Now, if law enforcement officers have a jurisdiction by going to a court to ask to see and to check a particular user's because they have reason to believe
reasonable reason.
No, well, that's why you bring a judge in to say,
right.
Yes, you've got to do it because we believe that the information they've got is, appropriate, that they really need to investigate.
And that's fine. So they get a warrant.
Then that's fine. But to do it off your own back, what does this make you think then, Guy, about Apple?
It disturbs me greatly. It doesn't, on the face of it, as far as pictures go, it doesn't concern me because I don't traffic in anything like that. But the whole point of being afraid of how this plays out has nothing to do with whether or not it's targeted toward you or toward practices that you may or may not have. It's at what point is your private life still your private life?
Yeah.
And just because you bought a phone and just because you take pictures with that phone shouldn't mean that the company you bought that phone from should have access to your private life.
So,
and also the fact that this can be exploited for not just pictures, but other parts that you use your phone for. And remember, people are using, basically your phone is your life now. Everything you do, everything you say, everything you think is somehow stored in your phone, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, pictures, movies, live casts, your feelings on what you had for dinner last night or what have you. This is all part and parcel what is in your phone these days.
Yeah.
So it's something that the average person needs to consider before they go ahead and use these products to put their lives in order.
Yeah. So when does this become live? Is it happening now? Is it going to
be the next version of the operating systems?
Right. What'll be interesting, Guy, will be just to see how many people then update to the next operating system. If Apple's put themselves in a bit of a quandary here because they love touting just how many people have moved and changed to the new OS.
Yep.
If we don't hear very much about how many people have moved and changed to the new OS, that could have, some information about just what the take-up is, and people will make their own assumptions behind why that might be.
Yep, I agree.
You agreeing and nodding your head.
I didn't even think about it. Yes.
Hit it. Gaz's tips.
Mostly.
Gaz's tips.
Mostly.
Gaz's tips.
It's time for
Gaz's tip.
Because
I lead him up the path.
I know.
I lead him up the path. I open the gate. I hand the ice cream ready for him to take it over. Yet nope.
Yep. Then I just smack it against my forehead.
Okay, this is a bit of a cheeky one, really, because it's a bit of a cheat. But actually, whilst on holiday and using my phone generally during the day, on the first day, I found my battery was struggling because we were outside. We were nowhere near any power. I hadn't taken any battery backup. That's weight that you don't want to take on a walk, and something you might not think about. And I was out, and the power I just about got away with it. So here's my tip. And it's not what's in there, actually. That I just realized I haven't cleared the tip in. So you're reading a completely different tip to what I'm going to tell you. When you're out and you've got your phone and your watch maybe, guess what? Turn off, unless you desperately need it, turn off Wi-Fi, turn off Bluetooth.
Well, if you turn off Bluetooth, then you won't have the functionality between the watch and the phone.
Did you hear my words? Unless
Yes.
you need it. Right? Unless you need it. Now, unless you need it, turn off Bluetooth, turn off Wi-Fi, and decrease the brightness on your screen as well. And I tell you what, as soon as I did that, no problems at all. Occasionally, I wanted the phone to talk to the watch a little bit more, but actually, on my watch, I've got the SIM card.
Cellular connectivity.
I've got cellular connectivity, so I turned on the watch. Even I turned Wi-Fi off as well.
You could turn off your phone at that point.
Well, as I said at the start, I used my watch to pay for everything. I didn't get my wallet or my phone out to pay for anything. The only reason I used my phone was to take images, Guy. So I still needed it for that. So yeah, that's my tip. If you're going to go out and you know you're going to have a long day, just think about your connectivity if you really need that Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and the screen brightness. It might just say
cellular as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. If you don't need it, turn it off, because then you might just have a phone that'll last the day, because it's amazing how much searching that device is doing while it's not doing anything.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is you're not utilizing the functionality of the phone. It's just sitting in your pocket or just sitting on the table, going, is there a Wi-Fi signal? Is there a 3G signal? Is there a 4G signal? Is there a 5G signal? Is there a Bluetooth? Is it, what about now? What about now? What about now? So just think about that. And, your screen brightness, all of those functionalities.
Like every annoying 4-year-old ever.
Yeah. What about now? What now? The functionality is easy to access for those, so it's not like you're fiddling about. You can just scroll down from the top right, or if it's an older version, you just scroll up from the bottom. So do it, folks. It will save you on those days when you realize you've been out. And I tell you what, the thing is, you don't always think about this until halfway through the day. But even if you do it halfway through the day, it still may well save you the angst of
having a dead phone.
Battery anxiety. Ooh.
Is that a real thing?
It is.
It really is. Actually.
It is a real thing, Guy. Hit it. That's the end of Gaz's tips. That's the end of Gaz's tips. That's the end of Gaz's tips.
Is that the end of the tip?
Will you let me finish?
And there's a long walk. And a cliff.
Gaz, you are absolutely right.
Dead.
Now, I have a preferred.
Wow, you went for it, did you?
I did. Now, I was telling Carl last week about the problem I was having with a Thunderbolt. I think it's a Thunderbolt 4 hub that I got from OWC that I had to send back, and they're sending me a new one.
Okay.
But in order to replace it, I went ahead and bit the bullet. And it's about $100 more than a hub. It's their Thunderbolt, not their Thunderbolt 4 hub, or dock, that you really can't get right now, because as soon as they get some in, they're like right out the door. I got the Thunderbolt 3 dock instead, which they have in stock, $269. It has, I think, 6 USB ports. It's got an SD and micro SD card slot. It's got at least 2 extra Thunderbolt USB-C ports, audio in, audio out jack, and Ethernet, as well as a what do they call that? Not HDMI. What's the other video standard?
DVI. The DVI stuff.
Not DVI. It's the
VGA.
No, it's a small sort of square one.
The DVI. Yeah, it is the DVI. It's the Apple DVI one. I know the one you mean. Yeah.
It's
the previous Apple. It's the previous Apple one, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't. Mini display port.
Mini display. That's it. Well done. Well remembered.
Mini display port. Couldn't remember it for some stupid reason because I'm an old guy.
Yeah.
So that's $269, and it's a great little device, and they have them in stock. And frankly, you're not going to see that much difference in real world speed between a Thunderbolt 3 and Thunderbolt 4 dock. So
Yeah, I've got
get the one that's available.
I've got an OWC dock, which I've had for quite a long time actually, and it is a Thunderbolt one, but it's one of the early ones. I don't think it's a Thunderbolt one. I think it's a Thunderbolt 2 one. It's quite a long one. It's about yay long and about yay wide and about this thick.
Yeah. And and that was when Thunderbolt basically looked like the DisplayPort connector.
Yeah.
So they basically went from a DisplayPort-like connector to a USB-C-like connector.
Yes,
so
correct.
Getting smaller.
That's correct. Yeah, that's
and
correct.
faster.
So it's about 8 inches by about 2.5 by about half an inch deep. So
and those aren't as fast. However, in real-world tests, when you've connected up, whether it's an SSD or spindle drive, you're going to see zero difference. In speed between those two, unless you're doing something like, real world video rendering, and very few of us are doing that.
No, agreed.
Yeah,
cool, good.
Now we have an audio. Somebody sending some audio, Gaz.
Yeah, I know. I love him for it. I absolutely love him for it.
Yeah, Scottish Jim sent us something. And thank you so much, James Orston. We really, really do appreciate it. And I'm just going to play it.
I'm losing the will. I can't stand it anymore. MyMac Podcast with Guy and Gaz.
Obviously, he didn't really shoot himself. So, and obviously,
you say that.
Yeah. Well, it could be he recorded the last bit first.
Yes. Now that would be clever. And he put it on a loop. He put it on a loop, so it was still record. And
well, because you could
it was about 30
audio
the funny thing, there was 30 minutes of silence in that recording he sent it. I shortened it
but
down
right after it ended.
Yeah.
And for time, we edited it down.
Yes, because who wants to listen to 30 minutes of silence? Probably everybody that listens to Guy and Gaz on them
on the MyMac.com podcast. We joke because
we really joke. Yes.
Yeah.
We really do joke.
We really, really do. Don't take us seriously. Please don't. If you would like to help support, let's just roll right into that, guys.
Go for it.
If you would like to help support us in all of our crazy endeavors, you can go on over to Patreon and go to patreon.com/MacParrot. You can go to ko-fi.com/MacParrot. Or, Gaz, they could pay a pal.
Pay a pal?
At payapal.me/MacParrot. There. I see. I thought maybe you were going to jump the gun there, but you didn't. You're so good at that. You really are. See, I would have jumped the gun and went there and said that.
I know you would.
Yes. Couldn't believe I did that when I should have waited. Blah 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 blah. But no, you just anticipate my foolishness. All right,
I do.
If people wanted to contact you guys and say, "Can you teach me how to anticipate Guy's foolishness?" how would they do so?
Send an email to gaz@mymac.com. That's GAZ. At mymac.com, or on the Twitters, twitter.com/Gazmaz, GAZ, MAZ. You can also contact Guy and myself on the Twitters, twitter.com/Guy and Gaz, GUY, AND, GAZ. You can also send an email to feedback@mymac.com, FEEDBACK at mymac.com. Now, who?
Pay no attention to that guy behind the curtain.
Why? Why?
Guy was paid his 75
grand. Oh, I see. Yeah.
Well, you know it was a guy?
Do we know it was a guy? But was it
Guy?
Yes, because
he's the guy.
Definitely.
His name was Guy.
La la la.
No fooling.
Oh, okay.
Eyes closed in anticipation.
Yeah.
Please.
Now,
you remember Guy?
Yes, and he would reply to you if you
struggling.
An email from Guy.
Sent him
Struggling
one.
right now.
I was. In fact, Guy,
I screwed up.
Yeah.
I screwed up.
It happens.
It happens.
I'm rubbing off on you in the absolute
are.
worst possible way.
You are. Go on. I've said it.
Oh.
How would they get?
How would they do it?
How would they get?
An email from Guy.
It's so easy, Gaz.
Guy says,
All they have to do is open the email client of their choice, and in the little field where you put who it goes to, you put Guy, and I don't know how you spell Guy, but just regular Guy is GUI at mymac.com. You can also find me on the Twitters. I am MacParrot and also VertShark.
I was a bit slow then.
Yeah, I was like,
Bit
wow,
delayed.
that's a parrot that like needs a push.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, you can do it.
Dead parrot.
It's a parrot that's not at all well. There is also vertshark.com is the website for all of the audios and all of the videos, as well as over on the tubes of you, just do a search for VertShark and you will find it, and then you can like, share, subscribe. Did you see it the first time, Gaz? Like, share, subscribe. That's all you got to do. It's so easy. It's the
3, 2,
3
1.
ways. 3, 2,
Yeah.
1. Actually, I guess it's 1, 2, 3. I'll shut up now, except
Could
for,
be-
continuing to talk about the things I need to talk about. There's the Skype telephone number, Gaz.
No.
There is 2 people in the world apparently know how to use a Skype telephone number because that's all we ever get.
Yep.
However, for the rest of you, you still have time. You still have time to work it out. And all you have to do is go into any telephone application and hit 1 or +1, depending on the country of your choice, 703-436-9501. That number again is 1 or +1, 703-436-9501. And if you don't want to do it that way, go to Skype. Don't have to dial the 1 and +1 because that's a struggle for people, I guess. And then just dial 703-436-9501. And you have to say it like that. Oh.
Well, you don't, but
Well,
you do.
don't, but I do. And I would like to say, number one, Gaz, it's great to have you back.
Thank you.
I'm glad you're back.
Yeah.
And I would like to say,
there might be a problem there, but yeah,
What,
okay,
next
that's
week?
cool. Yeah.
next week there's a problem.
Could well be.
Ooh. Actually, starting, my wife and older son are going out to Idaho to visit her mom next
Okay.
Friday.
Oh,
So my weekend is like wide open for whatever.
okay. So there
whatever time is
could
good for
there
you.
could be a point of opportunity. So for the folks, you'll have to wait until next week to find out. And Guy and I
8
will have a
o'clock in the
chat.
morning on Saturday, which is 3 o'clock in the morning for me. But my God, I could be there
Anyway,
with cats everywhere.
cats.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you to everyone who downloads and listens to the MyMac.com podcast. I knew it was something like that. It is greatly appreciated, and we like the fact that you do those things. And Gaz, I think we're good enough.
Yeah.
I think we're smart enough, and that Wilf really wants you to go out and get a 4-wheel drive pram just for him so that you can take him on 25-mile walks every day during those times when you're gone for people that just like us. Well, that was a long way to go for that little bit.
It was. Woof, woof.
Woof,
Aquels qui sacrifierions la sécurité per sécurité tampoc es mexicaine. Benjamin Franklin. Guy,
Yeah.
where did Noah keep his bees? In his archive.
Oh, that is awful.
End.
so you can all go home and there's nothing to worry about. Get out of here now. Go on. Go on home and go home.